good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And man, oh man, the gang is back. We have a great show for you. Get ready, strap in. The next 2 hours is going to be all Xbox all the time. We have a ton of amazing topics to get into, and I think you're going to be incredibly entertained. No guests today. We are missing Pong So, who unfortunately got called into the big bad work. So he'll hopefully be back next week when Boxenberger won't be here. I think there's something going on, Boxenberger. I think you talked about that in the DM.
Yeah,
Welcome back,
absolutely.
brother. How you feeling?
Thank you. Doing good. I have the suspicion that Pong is trying to avoid me. Whenever I tell him I'll be on a podcast, he's dropping out last minute. So I'm taking it very personal. Of course, right? I'm kidding. Missing Pong, but we have an exciting show ahead. We have a stacked panel and some fantastic topics to talk about. So I can't wait to talk about everything.
We're going to get into it. And of course, we're going to bring up my favorite conversation, both kart racing and fighting games. But listen, if you missed out on Living Split Screen's show this Saturday, folks, my God, talk about delivering in a big way. Both Pong Soul and Steel Rain just kept dropping bomb after bomb. Like, I could not stop listening to it. So if you're not subscribed, get over there and subscribe. They are on the hunt for 1K. That's right. We're trying to get them to 1,000 subscribers, and they're well deserving of it. But listen, speaking of the other half, Mav, what's going on? The other half of PM in the PM. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Oh, pretty good, man. It was a good day yesterday for gaming news, right? Got a lot of cool stuff. Finally, we even got another delay, but overall, still finally a good Monday of gaming news. It's getting me hyped over for the next couple months. We're gonna have an awesome, September, October, November of gaming, I think, and it's just gonna roll right into 2023. So, I'm getting pretty pumped, man. But doing good. Excited to have Boxenberger here. I got accused of also avoiding him as well, but I am not. I'm here, dude. I'm glad that
it's awesome.
Get to be on the show with you today, as well as Daniel, Umbra, and you, Boom, of course, because we got a lot to talk about, man. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, well, good to have you back, brother, and obviously definitely check out Mav's PM in the PM with Pong. So along with a lot of it, I mean, he has a ton of shows just like myself. And if you need another Xbox show to add to your repertoire, if you will, of shows, you should definitely check out his Friday show that goes live. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Am I correct?
Yeah, Xbox Ultimate episode 102 will be this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Excellent.
That show is a little different, though. We go left a lot, right? It gets a little crazy. We have a lot of fun.
You go off road. You guys like to veer off, like me, like my driving right now, and go off roading. I love it.
Yeah, Pong started us off on the wrong foot last week, though, because he just let some stuff slip out like right at the beginning of the show. It just derailed everything. So I blame him last week.
Damn you, Pong. You, Pong. Well, listen, thanks for being here, brother. Daniel McGee, what's going on, brother? How you feeling? Welcome back.
Hey, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I do have some construction apparently going on the road outside, so hopefully you guys can't hear that too much. They chose the exact second we were about to start to do it, so that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's usually my case. They usually want to start mowing and using the leaf blower as my show starts. That's life.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great. Really convenient. But otherwise, doing great. Really looking forward to the topics today.
Nice. And last and no way least, one of the newest additions to the Xbox Factor podcast, on loan from the Xbox Infinite podcast of Infinite Umbra. How you feeling, brother? Welcome.
Hey, good morning, guys. Or good afternoon, I guess now. Yeah, I'm feeling good, brother. How are you?
I am doing A.O. fine. Got a lot of good topics to talk about. Lots of news dropping. And folks, I just got off the wire with one of my close connections. I would dare say a source. And apparently, I don't have any other information about to pass on other than what I'm going to give you. And that is, keep your keen eye to the websites like VGC, like reporters like Tom Warren, because apparently this week, Sony's response to Xbox's questioning or their response to Sony's complaints to the Brazilian regulators will be being made public. And apparently this is getting catty. I still say this, Sony does not have a leg to stand on. And I think that the bully is afraid. I think that they are looking at the future, and what the future may not be as bright as it used to be, because their way of selling games is ancient and dinosaur-like. And the new kid on the block, meaning Xbox, has found a way to not only deliver quality, but also not clobber its fan base and give value at the forefront of Xbox Game Pass. And now with Xbox Game Pass Plus Family, it's going to be hard not to get invested in Xbox. And I think that is what is concerning for Sony. But listen, folks, we have an amazing show. I want to get to the first topic, so let's break that down. We had Xbox news. Now, this is a place on Twitter that if you're not already subscribed, you should. It's @_Xbox News on Twitter. They posted something that's pretty interesting, and it sparked my brain to want to have a conversation with everyone here. And they dropped it on Twitter, and they said this: total Xbox sales to date currently are over 182 million and counting. Do you think that the Xbox Series X and S will surpass the Xbox 360? Now, here is the full breakdown of all the numbers of Xbox sold so far. The OG Xbox sold and topped out at 24 million. The Xbox 360 nearly quadrupled that with 85 million. And of course, well, the Xbox One wasn't as successful, and it topped out at 58 million. Currently, right now, the Xbox Series X and S, which is the current gen, has reached and surpassed 15 million consoles and counting. And here is the question that I want to pose for the chat. This is the question, the opening salvo, if you will, to the illustrious panel that we have here is: will Microsoft's Xbox Series X and S surpass 100 million? Now, it's a fair question. They've sold pretty well. As a matter of fact, according to Satya Nadella during last week's breakdown with what Microsoft made in the fiscal quarter, this is the fastest selling Xbox in history at 15 plus million right now. I'm going to start with Mav on this. Mav, look, Microsoft is doing things that no other publisher or developer has done in the history of gaming. They have found a way to make gaming affordable for everyone, right? Everyone that has a phone, that has a tablet, that has a computer or a console can play Xbox. And we know that is going to be opened up even further this fall when the TVs start dropping with the app directly on it. Now, Microsoft has never crossed the 100 million console ever in their history. Now, we've seen Nintendo do it. We've seen Sony do it quite often. This is an opportunity that I think that has been presented. The value proposition of what's coming for Xbox versus what the other guys are doing, I have a strong suspicion that they will, in fact, cross 100 million for the first time in company history. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because there's a lot of layers to this and a lot of ways of looking at it, right? Because we don't know how their iterations are going to go for the future. We don't know how long this generation is technically going to last. They built consoles that are very future-proof, right? So they can really last forever. But also, because of the way the ecosystem is, who's to say that if everything's forward compatible and back compatible, potentially not going to release different hardware in the future that just has some slight improvements, just slightly, and then potentially call it a series whatever, and will people try and say that doesn't belong, with the sales and stuff like that, So there's a lot of layers to it as far as consoles wise. As far as this whole generation, if I include potentially future iterations into that, I think absolutely for sure it's going to surpass everything. We're already on track of higher than any other Xbox in the history. Also, with out a huge amount of first party games already, right? So that avalanche of first party games that we talked about last week on Breakfast with Boom, I think, is coming. Like it's going to start with Game Pass this holiday in October with a lot of third party stuff. And then it's going to flow right into 2023, 2024, 2025. It's not going to stop. The value is only going to keep getting better because they keep adding things to the service. They keep adding places you can play in the service as well. So the interesting thing about Xbox is while I still think they're going to surpass in hardware over the 360, I also think that Xbox is the least important right now because there's more devices in the world that can play Xbox than any other platform. Between mobile devices, PCs, you got apps on TVs, you're going to have streaming sticks and stuff like that. Everybody has it. Like if you have a household that has a tablet, a phone, a PC, you already have access to buy Xbox games, right? Yep. You can subscribe to Game Pass. You can enjoy hundreds of games in the ecosystem. You don't even have to have a console, right? That's how massive their scope reaches, right? So it's less important for them hardware wise, as opposed to Sony right now, that's mainly relying on the box, right? Or especially Nintendo, that's all they got, you know. But Xbox is still important for the console, even though it's less important than the others, and they're doing a better job at positioning themselves to move that hardware. Like if you look at the Series S at that price point, it's like at 300 right now. You see it on sale a lot for 250 to 70. It's also very small, very portable, so it's more attractive for a different audience in different parts of the world as well. So I think you're going to keep seeing these boxes sell, especially with holiday sales and stuff like that. And when these big games hit, because even Xbox acknowledges what moves hardware more than anything else, big first party games, right? Yep. And when we start having the Starfields and the Redfall and, you know, Avowed and Fable and Perfect Dark and all these games dropping, and they have all that marketing behind it, all this advertising and stuff, those consoles are going to fly off the shelves, right? Just get absolutely $200, $250, $300, whatever. That's like, it's not 500. You know, those people that want access to it and say, "Oh wow, I just need to go buy a Series S." Let's say it's on sale for $250 at holiday. I get family Game Pass, which is $25, and you can get a console for the family for the living room.
Yep.
And you have also your kids can play on their tablet with their own account. Your teenager can play on their PC with their own account and everything. And guess what? You got cross progression, cross save across the entire ecosystem as well. So they've just set up this like amazing ecosystem that's super attractive and leading in value, even without the games. Now, those games are going to take it to another level. So yes, it's going to surpass the 360. I just don't know when, but like maybe in the next like 4 years or so, it'll just really explode. Once everybody is like, oh my God, how am I missing out on all these games and all this value? You know what I mean? Once it becomes like the casual market, and especially even with Call of Duty, I mean, look at the Call of Duty aspect right there. Just with that alone, you know,
yeah, it is. It's going to move mountains, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Absolutely, and you know, 360 early 360 days, they had the marketing rights for COD.
They did, yeah, and that's why they were leading the pack, because remember back then it was map packs first on Xbox.
Yeah, they had like the whole first person shooter market pretty much cornered back then, because they had Halo, they had COD, you know, and all the marketing rights for Call of Duty. They had the map packs early on there, all that kind of stuff as well back then. So it's going to be interesting to see like how that shift when it comes back over to Xbox, right? How much of an impact that actually has. Everybody has such short-term memories when it comes to gaming. People just remember the PS4 and Xbox One generation, right?
Yep.
But if you think back to the early 360 generation, it was total annihilation. Xbox was just slaughtering PlayStation.
Yes.
It wasn't even close. The PlayStation came out with a $600 box in 2006. Think about how asinine that is. Would you buy a $600 console right now?
They also told you that if you wanted the console to get a second job.
Yes.
Which is not good.
And then there wasn't very many games at the launch of the PS3 back then either that were very good. And they did have some shooters that were decent, but they weren't really competing with the Halos and Call of Duty and stuff like that, right? So it's going to be really an awesome generation as a whole. PlayStation's starting to make moves to try and become more value conscious, it looks like, with some reports that came out today. But I think still, like, Xbox is just gaining enough of that market share that they probably going to surpass that 100 million console mark this gen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, listen, what a way to start the show. Matt, you knocked it out of the park. Boxenberger, I want to bring you into the conversation, but before I do, I want to thank a couple of people. First of all, Web Dave drops a message in here. He's been a channel member for 12 months. He says 100 million easy this gen. Boom Mav, Daniel Infinite, and the mighty Boxenberger. What a great panel. Boom Shakalaka, indeed. We also have 2 super chats that came in. Highlander 001 drops a very generous, $10 super chat and says, great panel as always. I was at Best Buy this morning, and there was a Samsung monitor that had Xbox Game Pass on it. It was not attached to PC or Xbox. Wow, that's awesome. Those you're going to start seeing that sooner than later. And Jesse DeBarrios drops a very generous $5 super chat. Jesse, welcome to the program, brother. He says, tell me that a Batman-style Ghost Rider game wouldn't be sick. Yeah, dude, it would be awesome. But just imagine if there were parts where you were on the bike and you were just like battling people with the whipping other cars to pieces with the chain. Forget about it. It'd be bonkers. And we're actually going to get into that because the multiverse. I don't know if anybody, or MultiVersus, I should say. Anybody been paying attention to that, folks? 10 million surpassed in beta. I mean, that if that doesn't spark an interest from Xbox, again, it's the big topic of the show. We'll get to it after, but I will say that Xbox needs to pay a little bit more attention, and hopefully they will. But Boxenberger, let's get your opinion on this. Is Microsoft potentially setting the Xbox Series X and S consoles to surpass 100 million? The way they're positioning the box versus the price of admission?
It's an interesting question. Like Mav said, there are so many different layers to this. I don't know about the console sales per se, but let me tell you this. At the end of the generation, I would be very, very surprised if we don't have more than 100 million active Xbox users. I think that's the better metric to look at this, because like you said, like Mav said, and everyone else mentioned it, it's an ecosystem. You don't have to have the console to play Xbox games. You can play on PC, on tablet, on TVs, on whatever device that has a screen and Bluetooth connection. You can play these games now. And that's why I am not sure about the console sales per se. But one thing is for sure, this is the best set up Xbox generation to date. The consoles have the power. There are options on the market with the powerful Xbox Series X and the entry system, the Series S, and we talked about this multiple times. Soon the price is gonna drop off the Series S. Black Friday, $250, $199 is not unrealistic when this system goes on sale. So you have different value proposition entering points. And like Mav said, Xbox is doing really well so far. The life-to-date sales of the Series consoles are better than in any other Xbox generation. So it is already setting records, and that without having games. And yeah, eventually Xbox will drop these first-party games into the service, and they add more value, and not just with Call of Duty. I think like having things like Candy Crush and World of Warcraft and these kind of things will also help them to grow Game Pass outside of the console market. But and that will also help console sales. If you hook someone that plays Candy Crush into Game Pass, this person might eventually think about, hey, why not get a Series S for $199 and I can continue to play other games and or Candy Crush and so on. So yeah, I have no doubt that this will be the most successful Xbox generation ever. The value is there, the hardware is there, and once an enhanced console drops, that will boost the sales again. So yeah, they have everything set up for it to be a super successful generation. Now they only have to get their game pipeline in order, get their management straight, and fix their game pipeline. And when they have that done, yeah, they're gonna knock it out of the park.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Real quick, shout out to Kia Walker, who's a good friend of the program, constantly dropping hot buckets of information into the DMs. He has just confirmed that Evil West has been delayed until November. At least it's not delayed until 2023, but my God, these delays are just not to be believed. It is.
At least it's still this year. At the very least.
It is.
And you know,
it is a dry year. Becoming
funny.
A dry year. Yeah.
We all gave Microsoft a lot of slack. I don't want to use the S word, but we gave them a lot of slack for their 3 delays, which I still stand on my stone that it sucks. But if you look at how many companies, how many developers, how many publishers have put delays into 2023, you know, we got to remember that, like I said, I hate to keep saying it, but, you know, COVID is a thing and development is being hampered. It's not the same. Development is not the same thing it used to be. But Daniel, I want to bring you in on the conversation. But before I do, let me thank Elemental PO, good friend of the program. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says the sales numbers mean nothing. Why? Xbox is still in the conversation and offering more for the gamer than ever. Easily their best gen. Yes, indeed. And that, you know, let me just clear this up. I'm not on the bandwagon that Microsoft has to sell 100 million consoles to be considered important to the conversation. Microsoft has muscled their way into the conversation, and they are making strides to be the number one box you play your game on. Now, whether that's a TV, whether that's a computer, whether that's your console, your mock-up handheld that supposedly Logitech is working on, you know, they're doing things that Sony's not doing. And on top of doing all of these things, all of these new things for gaming, they have introduced a service that Sony can't match, Nintendo will not match. And even like right now, Sony's best effort has been pushed forward, and it's $18 a month or $120 a year, and you get some day-and-day games, but none of their first party. I believe that is going to change. I think they're going to be literally painted into a corner, and they're going to have to at some point begrudgingly put their games in there. And I actually think they're going to be better for it. I think that their numbers will go through the roof if you can pay, you know, $20 a month, or, you know, if they increase it or whatever for day-and-day games, but only time is going to tell. But Daniel, I'm going to bring you in on the conversation. I see the chat. First of all, we got over 300 people here, which is absolutely amazing. And a lot of people are like, hey, they don't need 100 million. And I would agree with that. But I think that when you look at what is potentially on the rise, you know, everyone so far, both Boxenberger and Mav made great points. When the games hit, and I know that we're all tired of saying, wait till next year, wait till next E3. It's become a meme, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that at some point, it's going to hit, and it's going to hit like a tidal wave. And 2023 apparently is going to be that year. What is interesting, folks, and what is I think a bit of a head scratcher to this conversation is the fact that Xbox in this country, in the US, has outdueled the PlayStation 5 for 9 months, 3 consecutive quarters, with no bangers, as the kids say, right? So when the bangers hit, and when they're dropping one AAA bomb per 60 days, per 90 days, and you can get this Xbox Series S down to $200, it's literally game over. And that's where the sales number boost is going to come. And I think at that point, Daniel, that we might actually see them come back to telling us the numbers, because they're going to want to put it out there that, hey, this month we sold 6 million Series S consoles because X game was out. What are your thoughts on the importance of hitting the golden standard of 100 million consoles sold in a generation?
Oh, so I mean, I agree with basically everything that's been said. You know, both, I think that they will hit 100 million. I think that that's maybe not guaranteed, but fairly likely. I mean, we're seeing an Xbox that's more aggressive, more compelling than it's ever been before, right? We're seeing them winning 3 quarters in a row, despite the fact that they haven't put out games in about 3 quarters, right? We're seeing them winning in Japan semi-regularly, right? Like, they are doing better this generation than they ever have before, right? Like, we already know that they have sold faster than they did in the 360 generation when they sold 85, I think, from the graphic that was in the chat.
Yes, yeah? 85 million. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think when you combine that with the fact that the games industry is bigger than it's ever been, right? There are more people playing video games than there were back in the 360 generation. I mean, there's more and more every single year. You combine that with the fact that now they own Bethesda, and now they own, or soon they'll own, Activision Blizzard and Call of Duty and all of those sort of things. Like, I think that I would be honestly a little surprised if they didn't break 100 million. And when they do, we'll absolutely hear about that number. I think that the thing that'll happen faster, and the thing that we'll hear about more consistently, is Game Pass subscribers, because those numbers are going to hit 100 million. Honestly, I think in the next 5, maybe 6 years, right?
Yeah.
I think when you throw in that Riot Games partnership, you know, that's going to blow up in the Asian market, and then when Call of Duty's in there, it's going to blow up over here. You know, I think Xbox has put themselves in a very good position, and I would not be surprised to see any level of success from it. Now, like Box was saying, of course, they do need to start putting out games, because them being able to win consistently without having anything in the pipeline is probably not going to hold out. I'm honestly kind of surprised that it's been happening up to this point. But yeah, I think as soon as things like Starfield and Redfall and Elder Scrolls 6, when those things are coming out consistently, and we're getting at least 2 or 3 of those a year, I don't know how there's any argument that it's not going to hit those numbers.
I agree. I'm laughing because Tony C in the chat says in the chat, who's driving right now? That would be me. Sorry, I'm a drunk driver when I'm playing.
I read that when he said it. I was looking at you running to the wall. I'm like, up.
Oh my God, that's funny. Welcome to the show, Tony C. It's a name I'm not familiar with. So if you're new to the channel, man, thanks so much for checking us out. Folks, listen real quick before we bring in Umbra and then we move on. You know, we let him drop his knowledge as it's expected. We are 44 subs away from 11K. 44 folks as of this morning. If you're new to the channel, I want to tell you welcome. Please consider subscribing, hit the sub button, and of course, with that, hit that notification bell. I do 4 shows a week. And they're all live. I don't do videos. Videos is just not my thing. The production is just too much. It's too long. Boxenbergen understands that. One of his amazingly produced videos is 12 hours. And you know, if you're not getting 10,000 hits on it, and it's frustrating. So that's why I just said I'm just gonna be the live content guy. But Umbrella, I want to bring you in on the conversation. You've heard everyone so far. Like I said, Microsoft has said in the past that console sales are not an important factor. Users to the service are important, and I get it. But there is going to come a point where the numbers are going to be so outrageous that they're just going to at some point have to talk about it. Do you see a world where we have a $200 Series S? We have a family plan that allows day and date first party AAA games for as low as $5 a month when you're in the family plan. Do you see all of that eventually leading to 100 million consoles sold and breaking a record that Xbox has never done before?
I actually do, and I'll tell you why. And it's interesting. So I asked in the topic in the chat, rather, I said, how many, if you all know, How many units did the 360 sell in its first 20 months? Do any of you guys here know?
I'm not actually sure, but it wasn't 15 million.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
less than
BG
the Series
Charts.
X. Yeah,
BG Charts had like an article on this about like 19 months in, I think, for all the consoles and stuff a couple weeks back, and it's doing really well actually.
Yeah.
So the thing is, the 360 has been the best. It was the best selling Xbox. We all know that, right? So as far as total units, because I think at the end of the day, it's so 85.81 million units. A lot of that could be, not a lot, some of it could be attributed to the Red Rings of Death, right? So there were multiple SKUs because of that. So, and it happened to me 7 times. So I know for a fact that it mattered.
I'm right there. I got you beat. It happened to me
But
8.
that does count for almost.
There you go.
But that counts for every console generation.
That's
Like I
facts.
bought 3 PlayStation 4s during the generation. I bought the base PS4, I bought the PS4 Pro. Then this one broke, and I bought again a base PS4. So
There you go.
yeah.
And all those matters, and that same thing happened with me. So I got the
Exactly.
Series X. My nephew has the Series S, and I'm probably going to get another Series S again, right? And we are actually giving away a Series S from my other podcast over there. Anyway, long story short, right now, or at least at 20 months, the Series S had already in excess sold already 15.46 million units to compared to 10 million for the 360 in 20 months. Right now, it is, or at least in June, it was over and ahead by 5.6 million ahead of the 360. And this is without any unit failures and things like that, anywhere comparable to what the 360 had in its time. Now, the biggest thing is that you guys, like you guys pointed out, they did all this as boom, as you pointed out, without the, and I hate saying the word, the bangers. They did all of this without the bangers. And that tells you that Game Pass has been the biggest reason for it. And I would think we can all agree with there, because of the value that it offers. And of course, the S offers the value too. To answer the question of, do I think it'll go to 200? Absolutely. It'll be a few years, but it will go to 200 for the Series S. I think as early as this year, it might go down $50. I can see that happening. And if they bundle it, let's say with the Call of Duty or something like that, or bundle it, put that on a box and say, okay, we're releasing all these things once the Activision deal, the situation is done by the end of this year. All these games now on Game Pass, that's pretty undeniable right there. And Mav was speaking on it a while ago, and he said that the 360 was kind of the shooter box. And that's true. It was, right? It's some of its charm. But we're in that situation now. Microsoft right now, the Xbox right now is not only the shooter box, it's the RPG box, the Western RPG box. It is probably the platform box if they actually use those IP. It's so many other things.
We're gonna actually. It's funny you say that, because
Real-time strategy, racers,
exactly.
third-person shooters. It's like basically everything than the third-person action adventure.
That's the funniest thing. It has everything except for the third person over the shoulder.
Exactly.
But right now they have Doom, they have Wolfenstein, they have Halo, they have Call of Duty, they have Quake. All of that is there. So the foundation is there. All it is just execution now. When we all know, and we're going to get to this soon, 2023 is going to be crazy all across the board, but especially so for Game Pass. So I expect actually record profits for sales next year as far as members joining Game Pass and as far as Xbox Series X and S sales. So I think, yeah, at the end of the day, because it's supposed to go for 10 years, this generation. That's what they said, right? That's what they want to do. I don't know if they'll have a mid-gen refresh or not, because, you know, after a point, we kind of get to diminishing returns and pricing, and all of that has to come into a point where it's not going to be worth buying something. But I think absolutely, if you look at the trajectory that they're at now compared to where they're at with the most successful selling 360, I mean, this the most profitable that the Xbox unit has been, or the Xbox division has been ever. So I can absolutely see them reaching 100 million, or at the very least, outselling the 360 by the end of the 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it's you know, it's inevitable, but again, only time is going to tell. We will see what happens. You know, I'm very interested to see what they do this fall. Obviously, there's not a lot that they could put on the boxes, because there's not a lot of first party stuff this year, but they can still instill, you know, putting Starfield in a box, you know, putting a picture of Avowed or a bunch of games that are coming out next year. Forza Motorsport. They could turn around and put Redfall on the box. Included in everyone. Xbox Game Pass, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. But it's going to be the price of the console. How low are they willing to go, and how will the chip shortage that continues to plague the industry, not just gaming, it's everywhere. Are they it seems like Microsoft is one of the few companies that is pumping out these consoles. Yeah, you can find a PlayStation 5, especially if you follow people like Wario64, D-Batch. They're always putting stuff out there. But listen, let's bring in the next topic, and this one, this is an interesting one, and one that I think we're going to have fun with. The one thing that, if you look at what Microsoft is missing, they're missing the superhero genre, right? It's something that Sony has in spades. Even Nintendo has their own superhero, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. That's an exclusive to the brand, right? Well, it was announced yesterday, and I'm pulling up Andy Robinson's official Twitter account. If you don't know who he is the editor for VGC, which of course is videogameschronicles.com, one of the places that I enjoy getting a lot of the news from. I love reading their articles. They are really good. If you're looking for a site that very rarely uses console war shenanigans, you should definitely check out VGC. But Andy Robinson put out this on his official Twitter account, and Disney has announced a Disney and Marvel Games showcase, which is set to take place in September, and will feature the first look at Amy Hennig's Marvel game. And what's interesting about this is that at this point, we might actually get, and again, it's only time is going to tell, we actually might get the announcement that Xbox has teamed up with someone, potentially Amy Hennig, and is getting their own Marvel exclusive. And I've been banging this drum forever. I think that it is a genre that needs to be addressed. I mean, we're going to get into some of the other genres that have a place in Xbox that are currently not here. But the superhero genre, it moves, it sells, specifically Marvel. Listen, all you got to do is look at the two Spider-Man games for the PlayStation. Spider-Man 2018 is well over 25 million. Miles Morales is close or have already surpassed 20 million. Obviously, Spider-Man is a character that's not coming to the Xbox unless he is a part of maybe a team. And even then, we don't know, because Spider-Man was held off of the Xbox version of the Avengers due to Sony licensing. Who figures that they could lock the face of Marvel behind a box? It still baffles my mind. But this showcase has me incredibly interested, because this is an opportunity for Xbox and Phil Spencer and the team over at Redmond to show that they are serious about listening to the fan base. And one of the conversations that continue to come up is the lack of their own superhero identity. Xbox does not have one. They don't have anything even remotely close. Boxenberger, let's bring you into the conversation. Listen, all we know is that Amy Hennig's Marvel game is going to be shown off for the first time. We're going to get some information on it. Now, the rumor running is that it is a team-up game. So there's going to be several heroes, but we don't know what heroes. Now, we have heard in the past that Daredevil may be getting his own game. Is this an opportunity for Microsoft to drop the bag and lock up an exclusive to represent the Xbox brand? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, 100%. You always phrase it like superhero game. I would dare to say pop culture game. Like they could also make a Star Wars exclusive or something like that. But that's definitely something that Xbox is missing. You need this this kind of face, like a Mandalorian or like a Spider-Man or a Batman or something like that on your box, if you have that on the box and someone goes in, especially the more casual gaming audience, they are familiar with the face of Spider-Man and they are familiar with Mandalorian or stuff like that. Netflix just surpassed 220 million subscribers. So obvious, not Netflix, Disney Plus. So obviously these kind of shows are very popular, and you want that kind of face representing your brand. That's the beauty of this whole Spider-Man thing on PlayStation. Everyone knows Spider-Man. Everyone around the globe, and not just some
most recognizable superhero
exactly
in the world. Yes.
So and you can bring up almost any of the Avengers now. And they are very well known now by the masses, and this would be a massive get for Xbox, and it's really something that they are missing right now. Amy has, as to Amy Hennig's game, Amy, well, I've said this in one of my videos. I really don't get the hype around her because, like, she has not released a game in, I want to say, 14 years now.
Well, it's. I mean, the last credit that she has is Uncharted 4.
2,
because
2 or 3. She wasn't involved in 4 anymore.
She was removed from 4. She has producer credits in there.
Okay.
From what I understand, when 4 was being made, she was removed from Naughty Dog. I mean, again, maybe I got it wrong. Somebody, gets the right.
In chat can confirm. Anyway, you get my point.
Yeah.
I think that
then she moved
during 3 because I remember
it's
that.
3. Okay.
Yeah, right. It was 3. So it's been really long since she actually released the game. So not taking away from her. But yeah, she wasn't really successful at EA with her game. They shut that down. But now, let's see. I'm excited for that showcase, man. It's not just Amy Hennig's game. There are so many other possible Marvel, Star Wars, Disney IPs that they can get. I was honestly surprised about this showcase. I did not see that coming. I love that Disney is now branching out again into the gaming space a little bit more. Granted, they don't have their own studios, but they are now licensing Star Wars, Marvel, and the classic Disney IPs out to tons of different studios, different publishers and stuff. And I really loved that idea, and I did not see that showcase coming. And I bet there would be a bunch of great matches for Xbox at this showcase. So I do hope that Phil and the team are paying good attention, because a pop culture game is definitely something Xbox needs.
I absolutely agree. Daniel, let's bring you in on the conversation, brother. What do you feel the importance of Xbox finally arriving in the superhero genre conversation? Because again, at some point, they have to bring an exclusive to the box, and again, if it doesn't drop into Xbox Game Pass, that's fine. I'll be more than happy to buy it, but they need to be a part of the conversation. They cannot let Sony run rampant unchecked.
Yeah. So, does it specifically need to be a superhero thing? I don't know, but Xbox for sure needs to be getting into more licensed IP. I know that Phil has this thing, or maybe Xbox in general has this thing about wanting to own the IP that they make games based off of, and
I think that's a Phil Spencer thing, to be honest with you. He's actually made mention of that on multiple interviews, where he doesn't feel comfortable not having control over said character, but you can make you can write the contract that gives you the ability to sign a 10-year deal for X character, sign a 20-year deal for X character.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different routes he could go through to get it. I understand them not wanting to make games with their first party studios that aren't related to IP that they own, but I feel like now that they own so many studios, like, you could have a couple of teams work on things that you don't necessarily own, and you won't be screwed over like you were in the Xbox One end of 360 generation, where it was like, oh, well, we don't own Rise, so we can't make a sequel to that, or we don't own this, or Sunset Overdrive, so we can't make a sequel to that, right? I think now that they own enough IP and they're going to have enough people working on the IP that they own, I think that there's more leeway now that they could do that and still feel comfortable with it. Because I agree with Phil Spencer to an extent on this topic, right? Because it's like, you look at what Insomniac is doing, and first of all, they're doing amazing work. They're probably my favorite of PlayStation Studios by a country mile. But you look at what they've been working on, and it's like Ratchet and Clank, which is owned, but going forward, it looks like it's going to be mostly superhero things. It's going to be Spider-Man, it's going to be Wolverine, and that's awesome, and I want those games. But at the same time, it's like, if Disney or Marvel ever gets into the game space themselves, then Sony's just going to not have those games anymore. So I understand why that would be concerning. I don't know if that would ever happen, but it could, right? So in terms of them at this particular Disney showcase, first of all, I think it's amazing that Disney is doing this showcase because there's endless possibilities, because they're not making games themselves. They're licensing it out to the people who they believe will do the best jobs with it. And I think that's really exciting. I hope that they step into the game space with their own showcase better than a lot of other people have tried. Like the Google Stadia Directs or whatever they were calling it were always terrible, right? That Luna one was like not doing it for me. Like there's been a lot of companies stepping into the game space who have just not understood the culture of what gaming is. And I think that Disney has made a really smart decision by having it be hosted by Blessing Adeoye Jr., who is one of my favorite people in the games industry. He's fantastic. I really am hoping to work with him at some point because he's absolutely top tier.
Yeah, he's a good kid. Definitely a good kid. It's amazing to see the leaps and bounds that he has made.
Oh, he's fantastic. I love that kid. I say kid, he's the same age as me. But yeah, I'm very hopeful for this. I don't know necessarily that we'll see an Xbox exclusive at this showcase. I hope we do. But we will absolutely see multiple games that will release on Xbox. And I think at this point, I'm just going to have to call that good enough.
No, I mean, look, I understand. I understand Phil Spencer and his opinion. He's the boss, right? And obviously, if he has a certain way he wants to do things, well, then that's the way things are going to be done. But I think at some point, they have to team up with somebody, whether that's... And again, folks, look, the WB conversation is been raging through the interwebs. As a matter of fact, tomorrow evening, we're going to be... we have Dirk Griggity making his primetime gaming appearance as a guest. And we are going to be talking specifically about Phil Spencer's big plan and what has been revealed so far in 2022. And the first topic of the show, though, is going to be the WB conundrum, because there are a lot of people thinking that is Microsoft's next big move. Obviously, if you've been keeping your ear to the news about what the new leadership at WB is doing, they are looking to make deals. They are looking to pawn off things. They have no problem canceling movies that have been made. So it is a possibility, but that will be a conversation we're going to have tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the new episode of Primetime Gaming. But I think what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, Daniel. Mav, let's bring you in on the conversation. What are your thoughts on the necessity of Xbox having a presence at this Disney event happening September 9th? Do you think we finally see Microsoft jump into the water and get their own Marvel superhero game?
Man, I hope so. I mean, we also got to remember there was some rumors about Roundhouse Studio. I think Scalzi had originally kind of hinted at that.
Yes.
Could potentially be working on a Marvel IP. And we know that Bethesda ZeniMax, before they were acquired, had already done that deal for Indiana Jones as well. So they could have done a multi-game deal with Disney, Lucasfilm, maybe Marvel, Lucas, and then also maybe Marvel as well. So maybe there's already a relationship there brewing. They're handing out these IPs like candy right now. You got every publisher out there making Marvel games right now. You got lots of them making Star Wars games as well. And then even you saw the Indiana Jones thing. And also you saw, if you see the teaser trailer they had on Twitter, they had Alien there as well and some other really cool stuff. So this is going to be a cool show. I am extremely excited for it. I made a video yesterday once that announcement was made, because I'm like super pumped for this, dude, because it's like up my alley. If you combine gaming and you combine some of my favorite IPs, period, I get ultra excited. Now, Xbox has missed the boat on superhero games, right? This whole craze of superheroes has been going on now for since Iron Man came out now, or even before that, really. And we've seen what it's done for Sony with their exclusives, and that's really most of what we know is coming for them right now. After God of War Ragnarok, the most big two exciting games that they have is Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. And that's what everybody's talking about, right? So I think it would make sense for Xbox to get into this. Now, if I kind of tie it back, right? So I got some quotes to read, and also I remember originally when the Wolverine game was rumored, there was a leak from like I don't remember who it was, but it was on Reddit, one of those random ones. But that leaker had leaked the Wolverine game before the announcement, and nobody knew about that game, right? Yep. And at the time, that leaker also had talked about this Marvel project with Amy Hennig and Skydance New Media, and he had connected it to Xbox and also said it was potentially a Daredevil game, right? Yep. Now, so I'm trying to put together the clues and all this stuff. Now, that at the time held a lot of weight for me because of the Wolverine tie-in. Like, they knew that, and they got some other things right as well. Then maybe it added some weight to Daredevil. So, we're doing some looking and stuff. And the thing that throws me off now is it says at this event, there's going to be a sneak peek at an upcoming Marvel Ensemble game. They use the word Marvel Ensemble. That's coming from Disney, right? From the official announcement. Yes. So whatever this is a Marvel Ensemble game. That's not a rumor. It's not speculation or anything. That's coming from their mouth themselves, right? So there's going to be multiple characters in it. And so I go and try and connect the dots. Okay, like, what has Skydance New Media actually posted on their website, right, about this project and about the kinds of games that they're making, okay? And can it relate to Xbox? So this is what Skydance New Media is, and this is Amy Hennig's very big with writing, right? She's a storyteller. She is very big and creative, right? She's not just one of these like executive type people. She's a true creative writer, a passion for that stuff, and she's done amazing work in the past. So the Skydance New Media on the site says, by challenging established design dogma and exploring new genres, mechanics, and means of player input, we believe we'll see an explosion of creative interactive experiences that are inviting and appealing to everyone, expanding our audience by an order of magnitude. Now, who does that sound like? Xbox? Does that sound like Xbox's vision right now?
That does sound a lot like, Mav, you're completely knocking this out of the park, as always.
Now I'll go on. To create this all-new interactive experience, Skydance New Media has assembled an accomplished... Now, this is regarding the Marvel game, okay? This was actually on their website in the Marvel game category. It has not been revealed yet, but this was when they announced the project. To create this all-new interactive experience, Skydance New Media has assembled an accomplished crew of developers with decades of AAA experience in action and adventure gaming, as well as a diverse team of creative consultants from the worlds of film, television, and comics. The Skydance New Media team is laser focused on creating high-fidelity, richly interactive experiences crafted for traditional gaming platforms, as well as emerging streaming services, and designed to be appealing, inviting, and accessible to a global audience, right? Emerging streaming services. Stadia is not really emerging right now. I mean, Luna's kind of doing okay right now. You know what I mean? But what do you put on there when you say traditional gaming platforms as well as emerging streaming services? Now, this is also related specifically to that Marvel Ensemble game.
Yeah.
Then we get the announcement that the sneak peek is going to come up from that game. And also, this is pretty interesting about a little hint about the kinds of projects that they want to make. It says, we are joining forces with the best IP partners in the world to create story-driven action-adventure experiences with the focus on mystery, exploration, discovery, and adrenaline-pumping spectacle. So we try and look at this and say, like, what IPs out there could delve with the mystery type thing and interactive storytelling and all these things like that, right? I'm looking at that Daredevil universe. Makes a lot of sense, right? You got the lawyers, you got Jessica Jones, detective type stuff going on as well, right? You can have a really ground level aspect to it. I was talking to Jasper about this and Pong as well, because we've been really looking forward to whatever this game is going to get announced. And it just kind of makes sense. If you could do like the Defenders, right? To do the Defenders, you can put it in there. I'm thinking like, imagine like LA Noir type, like detective work. You got the mysteries going on. You're trying to solve puzzles. And you also have your action adventure stuff. And they also talk a lot about Skydance New Media about really thrilling action, right? So you got to combine something. Now you also look at this. What kind of games has Amy Hennig made in the past? And this was thanks to Jasper again for putting this in my head. It's made like an action adventure games like Uncharted and all those kind of things, more grounded type experiences, a little crazy at times, but I think that whole Daredevil universe really fits into there. And I think Disney also is looking to expand that and make it bigger because they are putting a lot of effort into that on Disney Plus right now with a lot of their projects upcoming. So for me, it makes sense. If I just try and connect the dots, I would say Daredevil universe, maybe the Defenders. Pong put out there Marvel Knights, which would be absolutely sick as well, which has Black Panther in it also. And then you got the mystery aspect and everything. I think the whole emerging streaming services there kind of connects it potentially to Xbox.
Yep.
And then you combine those rumors in the past, Daredevil and Xbox from the leaker that leaked Wolverine. I don't know, man. I hope so. It sounds awesome. That's what I want. But this is going to be an amazing announcement anyway. We're getting a brand new, big time AAA Marvel Ensemble game. Regardless of where it shows up, I'm pumped and I'll be there for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, again, I'm going to play it no matter where it goes. But like I said, I think that there is something to be said about allowing your competition to rule the roost, so to speak. Now, look, obviously, Microsoft finds themselves in a very, very good way with first-person shooters, what they currently have. Now, when you add Call of Duty to it, well, I mean, there you go. The king of shooters is now first party. You know, they have wrapped up what appears the Western RPG front. They're making current deals right now to get more Japanese RPGs, JRPGs as they're known. But listen, keeping on topic, Umbra, let's bring you in on the conversation. I mean, everyone so far has knocked it out of the park, specifically Mav, with this incredible information and quotes come the way of both Skydance and Marvel. In your opinion, is it time for Microsoft to get off the bench, so to speak, and be a part of the conversation when you talk about great superhero content for a service that has a genre, several genres that are missing from that conversation?
It's long been a time for that. I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, and I don't get tired of talking about it because I love comics and I love, these types of games. So I don't know. I never get tired of speculation because it's fun. Right, Mav? Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway,
I see what you did there. I like it.
No, but seriously, I mean, yeah, the thing is, Microsoft, Xbox definitely deserves, and we deserve as Xbox gamers. And
I'm glad you put it like that. That's a great way to put it. Yes,
we deserve it, and it's been something we've been calling for a long time. I've been calling for Microsoft to do this since the 360 days. Yeah, I talk about that often, and I've been saying, man, it'd be nice if they would have got the X-Men or something like that. I've been saying that for a long time. The X-Men, then they had that Punisher game come out. I remember I was like, oh man, well, what about Blade or anything? All of these games that it seems like Xbox just misses the boat for. And it's unfortunate to me because it's like, to me and to us, it seems so common sense. And then we hear about the situation where they had the chance to get the Marvel license for like Spider-Man and make the games and things like that, and they passed on it. And it's just like, it's a face palm worthy. Just to add to what Mav was saying, though, as far as Amy is it Hennig? When her pedigree is set in stone, but as far as what they could be working on, my guess would be 3 different things. It would be the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four have a movie coming out, as they've shown in I think in the 6th version of the phase of Marvel.
Yeah, phase 6. Yep.
So that's very likely it could be them. You have X-Men, obviously, and you have X Factor. Now, how poetic is that to fit in with the name of the show here. You have the X Factor with with the smart guy and what's his name? The man, multiple man. And
oh yes,
I say that because Mav pointed out about the detective work and the X Factor under Peter David's run. It was kind of had a detective kind of detective noir kind of thing going for it. I don't know if you all have ever read those books, but they had a very detective noir kind of setting for that. So maybe it could be X Factor. I mean, it's still X-Men related too, so it could be the case. As far as it goes for Microsoft, I just don't know if they. I feel like we deserve it, and I feel like it makes so much sense to do it. It just seems like it falls into what we were talking about the last time, Boom, when we were talking about how it makes so much sense for them to use these IP they have to bring back Conquer, to use Toys for Bob to make a new Conqueror, to make a new Banjo Kazooie, things of that nature. For us, it seems like common sense, but for Microsoft, it seems like they missed the boat when it comes to these things. So, as much as I would love for this to be the case, I just don't know if Microsoft would want to do it because they're trying to get away from licensing and stuff like that. So that's the problem that we seem to have, and that's why we want them so badly to just buy WB and the licenses as a whole, so there won't be an issue for them. But I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty sure this is the thing. I know Phil Spencer and team have heard us complaining about this and wanting this and demanding our own superhero game. Mm-hmm. So who's to say that they're not doing that? It's possible.
Yeah. Again, that's where this the mystery of the September 9th event really has me excited, along with Daniel, Mav, and obviously Boxenberger, because we don't know what's going to be hidden behind curtain number 1, and it could very well be what we've all been waiting for. And you know something, again, if that in fact happens, Umbra, it is going to really tell people that Phil and them team, they are listening.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think Phil has shown that he has and the team has shown they have a capacity to actually pay attention to what we're talking about. And I think the Xbox division has improved because of that. In a lot of ways. So maybe it's the case that they actually are listening to us and that they will do that. Who knows? I guess we'll find out soon enough, right? But let's hope for the best on that. I just feel like with Xbox, it just sometimes it feels like it's the obvious thing to do, but it's the obvious thing that they won't do. So I don't know.
Yeah. No. It makes perfect sense. Listen, folks, before we get into topic number 3, and this is one of the big ones for the show, Jesse DeBarrios drops a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, would it be possible to give maybe Obsidian a Marvel IP for Xbox? Obsidian they're working. They're like the Insomniac Games of Xbox. They have a lot of projects in the works. I think before that they were tasked to do a Marvel game, I would love to see them return to Fallout and give us a Fallout New Vegas 2. I know that's been rumored for quite some time. In my opinion, the best Fallout of the bunch. We also have a $10 super chat coming in from Brett Bingham. Thanks so much for the generosity, Brett. Nice to see you here in the chat. He says this, after dropping a $10 super chat, would love to see a Marvel RPG game where you can create your own character, hero, or villain based on other established Marvel characters and fight other characters in the story, hero or villain. That sounds very interesting. I kind of like that, build your own hero and somehow be entrenched with both current heroes and villains from Marvel. That definitely sounds dope for sure. But I definitely want to get on to one of the big topics of the show. Now, folks, look, Idle Sloth, who is a friend of this program and a friend of this community, I call him the internet sleuth when it comes to video game news. He posted something, and obviously, he constantly retweets and puts out there what Clobriel has to say. Now, if you don't know who Clobriel is, he is, well, I consider him to be an Xbox insider. He's definitely someone that is pro Xbox. He's someone that brings a lot of conversation to the brand, positive conversation to the brand. And Idle Sloth posted something that he posted, and this is what Clobril had to say, and this is where this topic originates from. Clobril put this on, and this wasn't on Twitter. This was actually on Reddit, where where I believe he's where he posts a lot of his big topics. He says, "I'm kind of late to the party, but damn, MultiVersus is legit. These collections of interesting IP characters work so well in a polished game. Xbox should create such an experiences as well with iconic stuff that they own. A polished Xbox kart racer is guaranteed a #1 Game Pass chart hit, honestly. People just love these kind of mashups, see Fortnite, etc." Now, as much credit as I give Clobril for posting that, I got to get out in front of this and say, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I have been banging this drum for years. And this goes all the way back to when the Xbox Factor podcast only had 2 hosts. And that was when I was partnered up with the Welsh Gamer. He was obviously the first voice outside of mine for the Xbox Factor podcast when we launched it about 4 years ago. And since then, at least once, sometimes twice a year, I constantly bring it up. And as you can see by the thumbnail, which I put together myself, and I think it's probably one of the best ones I've done in a while, I have to say, folks, that, look, Microsoft has a service that is trying to reach millions upon millions of people. And so far, they're doing a really good job in doing so. But the issue at hand, and what continues to, I guess, be absent from the Game Pass conversation, are fighters or let's just say family games. It's hard for me to believe that when you have a roster without, I mean, we're not even talking about what's going to come the way of the call of the Activision Blizzard King. Let's leave that off the table because that deal isn't done yet. Let's just look at the 23 studios that Microsoft has. You mean to tell me, and again, please, I'm not beating down on Xbox. I'm asking a legitimate question. MultiVersus is in beta. It had over 10 million players, which it could be 15 at this point. I don't know. I tell you what I did the other day. I cashed in some Microsoft rewards, and you know what I bought? I bought the $99 Founders Pack. The pack that's $100. I bought it because I love Smash Brothers, even though I suck the high heaven of it. Okay. And I get schooled by my nephew, Tyler, who's 13 years old, and he beats the balls out of his uncle, and he loves it, and that's fine, right? But the truth of the matter is that when you look at what WB has, it's not really too different than what Microsoft currently owns. There's going to be a part. I mean, the 2 newest characters they announced just this weekend is Shazam's arch nemesis, Black Adam, which they have a movie coming out that makes sense. But they the bad guy from the Gremlins, I can't remember what is his name. Oh my god, Stripe. Yeah. Yes. He's a cat. I mean, come on, man. You're playing a game that has Batman, superhero, Wonder Woman, but you also have all of these other wacky characters, Scooby-Doo, you have Velma, you have Shaggy, now you have Black Adam, now you have Stripe. I mean, the possibilities. I mean, there's going to be a point, they're going to bring Scorpion into the conversation. He's going to be a character. Yeah.
You're so much better than me, by the way, because when you said the name of the Gremlins, I'm going to be like, the Gremlin? I was just going to say the Gremlin because I'm like, I didn't know it had a name.
Right. They all do, actually. Yeah, they actually all do. But the truth of the matter is that he posted this, and I thought it was worthy of a conversation, worthy of a topic that I think a lot of people are going to dig. And listen, folks, we are sitting at 400 plus people here. I want to thank everybody that is tuned in. If you are new to the to the channel, please consider subscribing. Obviously, it is a channel that does a lot of live content. We are, my wife and I are the only ones that produce the content, and 4 live shows a week, hard to match. But we do keep it multi, like I said, I have 2 Xbox shows, 2 multi-plat shows, and we don't use hate or, trickery to get you into the channel. You come in, I guarantee if you're listening, you're going to be satisfied with it. But I want to bring Umbra back into this. Umbra, you're a big comic fan, obviously, because you named names when it comes to certain runs within Marvel, and that's a classic one that you talked about. Look, Microsoft currently is sitting upon a plethora of IPs that not only that are decades old, but still have incredible relevance to the conversation. And if you want to be simplistic and you want to just talk about the big wigs, you have Master Chief, you have Doom Guy, you have the Power Armor guy, whoever's in the suit for Fallout 76, you have Joanna Dark, the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, they can do some deep cuts. You can add Conquer, Cameo, Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, it's astounding how many characters they have at their disposal. And the fact that you are sitting on two of the greatest racing developers of all time in Playground Games and Turn 10 Studios, how we don't have a kart racer is bonkers. It literally is just bonkers to me. And when you look at, let's talk about fighters. If you don't want to create a Smash Brothers type game because you don't want to, copy or bite off the other guy, which if you've played MultiVersus, it's literally Smash Brothers Ultimate with different skins. That's basically what it is. They could turn around and bring in, from the jumpstart, guest characters like Doom Guy, like Master Chief for Killer Instinct 2. Like, these are the Killer Instinct 2 and their own kart racer. Why they don't exist today with the amount of talent and that they have at their disposal is still, again, to me, it's a bit of a fail. And I don't know when we're going to get this announcement, how that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, but it needs to happen. Umbra, what are your thoughts on them using the characters, the iconic characters that they have at their disposal to make one or both of these games?
It seems like, again, like common sense. And that goes back to my problem with Microsoft. The common sense things to do, it seems like, for us at least as gamers, it just seems like it's missed by them. It's like, we'll give you, Sea of Thieves season 8 or something instead, or something. I don't know. I don't want to try to put down Sea of Thieves. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it seems like the common sense things to us, and that the new kind of game, Microsoft, I don't know. It seems like they don't hit and land properly when it comes to that. It's a shame, really. But I mean, the thing is some of these things have to take time, unfortunately. And that's something that we've probably grown too accustomed to on the Xbox side of things. But they have to get these studios acquired first before they can make a lot of these moves. And that's just a fact of it. So the Toys for Bob and such, who could make something like that, or, even Playground doing what they're doing now. So they already have their hands full with Forza and, of course, now Fable. So I don't know how much time they could devote to trying to do that and a kart racer right now. But if anybody I would put in control of a kart racer, it absolutely would be Playground. And you're right, Boom, they have so many IP, so much IP that they could use that are just kind of sitting there to the wayside, from Banjo to Conquer to Crash once this deal is complete, to Spyro, to the Master Chief, to Killer Instinct, to all these different things and characters and such. So they have tons of characters they can use. I can absolutely see it being big, brought to Game Pass. There's no question in my mind. I think it would do exceptionally well, actually, especially
in a service. Now, real quick, just to add to your point, this is a great point. JDB SW67 in the chat. First of all, brother, I've never seen your name. If I missed it, I apologize. If you're new, welcome. He says this: once the Activision acquisition goes through, they can revamp Crash Nitro Racing. And that is a fantastic point. All you have to do... He
stole my whole point.
That's what I was going to say. They got Beanox in the bank.
Yes, absolutely. But please, great point. Please continue on, bro.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I was going to steal that answer too, Daniel. Yeah, once they get B-Nox, and that's what I'm saying. Like some of these things have to take time, and once they get the Activision deal situated, they'll have all these extra studios, and of course, granted that they're not working as support studios on Call of Duty still, but Microsoft wisely separates them at least, and on that bi-yearly schedule they're going to have for Call of Duty going forward. To me, it seems like a no-brainer to do it. Absolutely, B-Nox could be the one to do it. I say again, Toys for Bob could absolutely do it. I think they could be one of the ones that do it. I know that name gets tossed around a lot, but I think they are a capable studio, and I don't think making a capable kart racer is something out of their wheelhouse. I think they can absolutely do that. As far as a fighter, though, the thing about, I think, with MultiVersus is so much comes together with that, because there's so many iconic characters there, from Bugs Bunny to, like you said, Scooby-Doo,
Tom and Jerry.
It's
crazy.
It absolutely is, to Superman and everybody else. Those are major, big time world known characters. So it's a little different for that reason for them. And of course it is multi-plat. So I can see why they got so many people to play.
And it's free to play,
it's free to play too.
Yeah.
But if Microsoft did that and put their game into a Game Pass and use the iconic characters they have, it might not do as great initially as a MultiVersus, but I can see it reaching 10 million and such, and people played and things like that over time if they put quality developer on it and an actual budget. If they actually did that, I could see it being something really nice for them.
You know what's interesting? Look what's on your screen. Forza Horizon 5, right? Mav, I'm going to go to you on this. Forza Horizon 5, which is considered, racing is considered a niche genre, right? It's niche. But one of the things that jumps off the page anytime you talk about a kart racer, I mean, obviously, if you want to go all the way back, Diddy Kong Racing on the 64, classic, right? Classic rare at their absolute finest. You go back to, we've seen Garfield Racing, for crying out loud, but everyone goes right back to Crash Racing, because Crash Racing is absolutely fantastic. They have a blueprint. It works. They remade it. It sold like gangbusters. This is a golden opportunity for Microsoft specifically to really bring some, because again, I know that a lot of people like their bro shooters, and they like their open world RPGs with their big lands and monsters to conquer. I get all of that. I totally do. But as someone that grew up on platformers, this is one of the many things that are lacking inside of Xbox Game Pass. And I think that if you can bring a racer or a fighter, a character-based fighter, because look how well Killer Instinct did with their characters. I mean, they had the Battletoads in there. They had the end boss from Gears 1 in there.
Arbiter.
They had a ton of guest characters that a lot of people were digging. I think there's an opportunity here. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with the fighter. We don't know what's going to happen with the racer. But do you want to see that type of game come to the service that is clearly lacking as we speak?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been talking. I feel like once every 6 months we have a topic like this, Boom, over here, because like it is just like overdue, and we keep talking about it because we need that on the platform, right? It makes sense. I mean, I understand people out there, you don't need everything, but like you got to celebrate the brand a little bit with some things, you know what I mean, as a whole. And like with Nintendo, they got Smash, right? PlayStation's even dabbled with this with their they had an all-star.
They had the PlayStation Fighting All-Stars, which is pretty dope, by the way.
But I would also add that PlayStation you could criticize them of not doing enough of this kind of stuff as well right now. You know what I mean? I think there should be more of that, and Nintendo is the best at it. They just sell their brands like nothing else, and that's one of the reasons why their platform is so successful. And I think Xbox could really do that with some high quality games. When you mentioned like the racing genre is kind of niche now, I think that's more of a symptom of not as many great racing games this last generation, right? We've had Forza standing on its own. There's really not been much competition from anything in this last generation, right? But before that, you really think about racing, it was one of the biggest genres out there. You know, you had the Midnight Club, the Need for Speed was like releasing every single year and got tons of sales. And, you know, you always have had your Mario Kart, and you've had lots of different other great games. There were so many racing games on the 360 that people loved. But last generation, there's a lot of genres that just kind of like fell off. Fighting games, racing games become more niche because they stopped getting as bigger budgets from publishers, and you had just a few that were up there holding up the entire genre, like Mortal Kombat and Injustice. That whole another realm pretty much was held together the fighting genre last generation, right?
Yep.
For Turn 10 and Playground pretty much held up the racing genre last generation, right? So this generation, I see that completely changing. I see more investment from lots of different publishers with all these different kinds of games now. You have more investment into racing games. You have more investment into fighting games. You have more investment into all these different genres to help try and prop them back up to as classic big time genres that they were back in the day. And I feel like the audiences have gotten smaller because the budgets and the attention to them has gotten smaller. And they used to just try and pump these games out for quick cash grabs and stuff, and they lost their quality. And then when doing so, you lose the fan base, right? So I think there's a market there. I think there's a huge opportunity, especially on Xbox with Game Pass. If you release a kart racer, it's going to do wonders, man. And they have, like you said, the character stable is gigantic. It's only going to get better once the Activision Blizzard deal is done. And if you really want to go into it further, like we were talking about, Beanox is the ones I think we should just, at this point, it's been so long. Hopefully Beanox already is working on something like this in the background, and they can just kind of add the Xbox flavor to it once the acquisition is done. But Beanox would be the number one choice because they already are proven to be able to produce a high quality game in that category. And I don't necessarily want it to just be an expansion for like a Forza Horizon, because I want enough people to get eyes on it. So it needs to be a standalone, but then I don't want really Playground taking on another standalone project when they got Fable, and then I want them to keep working on Horizon. Turn 10, you know, do your keep working on those amazing engines and keep making those amazing racing sims. And we know that the next Forza Motorsport is going to be absolutely insane. So you need a team for me that's like
Ensemble does good racers. You know, they know how to make a racing game. You know, you can task Ensemble, you can team them up.
You can task Ensemble with anything. They can do pretty much anything. They can make a flight sim. They can make a game like Plague Tale. You know, I mean, they've done freaking. I think I was playing Jeopardy or something on the Xbox, and it was like, oh, this is actually really well made, like a board game. Who made it? Oh, Ensemble. Wow. Like, who knew, right? Ensemble is great, man. But so you could go to a third party like that, but then at the same time, you don't necessarily always have control over when you can do your next game, right? And that's one thing that's gotten Xbox into trouble in the past. That's why we don't have a Killer Instinct, because they didn't own the studios that made those, right? The Iron Galaxy is now making that brawler battle royale game. I don't know if many people are even excited for that thing.
It looks interesting, but I think it's going to die on the vine. There's just too many free-to-play stuff games out there. That's
and they could be making the next Killer Instinct, but guess what? Like, you know, that Microsoft didn't own them, so they took whatever deal to make the next big thing. You know, so I think owning the studios that are behind your first-party franchises is very important. To make sure that you can keep these games churning and keep the next one going. And Microsoft really bit themselves in the ass last generation, and was just relying on so much third-party development that's why we're in the situation where we don't have much games right now, because they've had to acquire all the studios to get these games started in the works, in the pipeline. So but once the Activision Blizzard deal is done, you're acquiring a lot of studios that have a lot of experience with a bunch of different genres that the current first-party stable of Xbox does not have. Right. And a lot of these are more for that casual audience. Right. And so I think that's going to be a good fit, and that will help with these situations. Fighting game, though, they still need to figure that out. because Activision Blizzard does not check that box, right?
No.
So
you know who checks that box?
Somebody.
NetherRealm Studio checks that box.
It does.
Ed Boon has talked about Killer Instinct more times than I can have fingers to count. And again, we've heard. I don't know if things have changed since this new leadership reconstruction for WB, but apparently they're one of the studios that along with TT Games and Rocksteady are on the table to be sold. If Microsoft gets this deal done today or soon with the Activision, the ABK deal, they need to look into that for sure. Real quick, before I bring in Daniel on this conversation, I do want to bring up a quote from Jarrett Bishop in the chat. He says this: as much as I like these discussions, I think people miss out on a huge point. Just assigning studios to make games is not going to guarantee success, especially these established studios need to pick. And that's a great point. And Daniel, I have an idea. I don't know if anyone from Microsoft is listening. I know that Xbox and a few people from Redmond do listen to the show. And this is an idea that I don't need the credit for. I need you just to pass it along to Papa Phil. Microsoft or Xbox is a very big division of Microsoft. And to get people's interest in making a game or building a new studio, all they have to do is drop, an email, a company-wide email. Hey, listen, we're looking to create a new racing kart racer similar to Mario Kart with Xbox characters. If you have experience in that field and you want to join the new studio we're building, send us in your application. And I think that could generate a lot of buzz within the company, and you can get people to be interviewed that, this is where you find your studio director. Oh yeah, I worked on Project Gotham when we were, when it was a thing on the OG Xbox. And I'd love to get back into racing. And yeah, I love Mario Kart. I'd love to be a part of it. That's how you handle this. Because we know Microsoft is going to say, hey, studio over there, guess what? You're making a kart racer or you're fired. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's what they did in the past.
Yeah, which they have done in the past. So Daniel, what are your thoughts on Microsoft being a part of the conversation? We're adding family games to Game Pass, which is something that they want to do. They just introduced a family plan, which is obviously going to introduce people's children to the service. They really don't have a lot of kid games in here. They have a few, and look what happened when Peppa Pig, which by the way I got 1,000 out of 1,000, and I did that with my nephew. I just want to point that out.
A real gamer, a true gamer.
But I mean, honestly, this is a conversation. No, Peppa Pig was trending for days, dude. Peppa Pig on Xbox Game Pass, it trended for days. Could you imagine if Microsoft is able to bring a character racer where in this game you're racing on a Halo ring, you're racing through the volcanic levels of Gears. Mm-hmm. You're racing on one of the Hot Wheels tracks from Forza Horizon 5. Pick. You're racing through Fallout. You're racing through Elder Scrolls. I mean, it's limitless what they could do.
Yeah. So as far as like the children's games go, right, or the rated E games or whatever you want to call it, Microsoft has all of the pieces. They just need to put it together, right? Yeah. And Phil Spencer, if you're watching this, you're out, you're walking the dogs, you're driving to work, you're flying to a studio visit, you're a busy man. I don't know what you do. I've never been that busy or that important. First of all, I want to apologize for Umbra. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Sea of Thieves is amazing. I just hit Pirate Legend. I'm very proud of it. Second of all right, so the teams that they've got, right? They've got Beanox, who made the Nitro Refueled or whatever, the newer version.
Indeed.
Of it. Yeah. Right? As soon as that deal goes through, you just throw all of the IP at them and you're like, hey, do you want to make another one of those? Because chances are that they do, because I think they got folded into Call of Duty and I'm sure they didn't want to do that.
Right.
So I would just like, hey, make another one of those, but also like, here's Master Chief, here's Marcus Phoenix, here's all this other stuff, right? Throw Jaina Proudmoore from WoW in there, just like get it done, right? And then I think that to solve the other part of the problem is you just staff up Toys for Bob. I think they have one team right now. I think you staff them up to 2 teams, maybe even 3. And then every other year, maybe they're able to put out, here's the next Conquer game, here's the next Banjo game, here's the next this, right? And just like get that on rotation, because children's games are extremely important to a subscription service like this. I mean, you look at
100%.
I mean, you look at the successful television streaming services like Netflix or Disney Plus now, and yes, they have adult content, like Stranger Things, pretty much everything in the MCU, right? And those are the things that are bringing in probably maybe the biggest chunk of stuff. But you also have to have, the I Am Groot miniseries. You have to have the Camp Cretaceous Jurassic Park show, right? Like you have to balance that out. And I think that's a thing that a lot of like hardcore quote unquote gamers need to come to terms with, is like, hey, not everything is for you. Like they're trying to appeal to, they're trying to hit, I think he said like billions of people. They're probably not
Phil Spencer said it. That his quote when he was being interviewed, when they were talking about what is the ideology behind Xbox Game Pass, he said he wanted to reach 3 billion gamers. And at that time, like I said, the social media being what it is, and the gaming channels, and of course the publications like IGN and like Kotaku and everyone else, they clowned on him for this. It was a meme, right? Oh, Phil Spencer is going to 3 million. They can't sell their own Xbox, and now look where we are. They position themselves to hit that number.
Yeah, and honestly, I would even say, and this might be a controversial take because I don't like these kind of games. I think I missed the boat on it, but I think children's games are potentially the number one way of building your brand at this point. I mean, look at Nintendo. They almost exclusively make games that are very clearly geared towards children. I know that a lot of adults play them, probably because they play them as children.
Gonna have Nintendo fanboys coming at you soon, Danny.
I'm sorry. But like Nintendo is the most successful video game company on the planet by console sales, right? They're doing amazing. Like they're killing it, right? And they're doing it off the back of, building up this nostalgia in children, and then having those children continue to play it and introduce it to their kids, right? Xbox now has a library of children's IPs that they could very easily make very they're not going to get as popular as Mario or Pokemon. That's just not going to happen. But like that could really help in that department, right? So I think that they've got everything that they need. And I would say, because we were talking earlier, or Boom specifically, you were talking earlier about how a lot of people are pushing for the WB acquisition. I'm one of those people, because
there's a lot to be said about getting
Spencer are like long lost twins or something, or like we share a brain cell, but he has been buying like all of my favorite things, right? Double Fine, Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Bethesda, Blizzard. Like it's like he's reading my Christmas list. And the last thing on that Christmas list is like BioWare, which you're probably not going to get because it's in EA, and then WB, because like my entire childhood was WB shows. I grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons on the CW, watching Batman animated series, watching Cartoon Network, stuff like Codename Kids Next Door, all that stuff, right? They buy that, they get MultiVersus. If MultiVersus is already not necessarily branded specifically as a WB thing, so if they became part of the family, or even if there was just a really tight partnership between
dude, that is effing genius.
The Halo
what you just said,
right? Just fold in all of the here's MultiVersus, and also now here's Master Chief. Here's
holy crap,
all from WoW.
I didn't even think about that, dude. Oh my god, that is
just get in there.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. Well, I mean, listen, you're onto something, and like I said, I don't know if the WB thing is going to happen, but they're on rocky waters. Mm-hmm. They have been for quite some time. New management is firing people and cutting ties with long-term problems. And when you start to see, and again, this is just me being, looking at the big picture here, folks. When you start to see a company trimming the fat, so to speak, selling things, getting rid of studios, firing people that have been troublesome, they're prettying themselves up for a potential acquisition. Now, we did see Square Enix do that, right? They got rid of Crystal D. They got rid of Eidos Montreal. They just got, they're kind of tightening the belt on what games they're going to make. kind of sounds like Sony's going to be buying them. That we've known that for quite some time. But I mean, it's just Daniel. I mean, really, that's just the quote of the show. To be honest with you, I didn't even think about that. You take WB's very popular 10 million plus players in beta, PS by the way, and you just fold in Microsoft or Xbox characters. And what's interesting with that is that you leave it multi-plat and you introduce new characters on other platforms. Hey, who's this guy in the space armor? Boy, that's Master Chief. Oh, man, he's dope. Who's this Marcus Phoenix guy? Wow, that guy is dope. Oh, he got a chainsaw gun? Okay, I'm in. And yeah.
Yeah, and I think the partnership makes a lot of sense because, like, the number one thing that Xbox needs right now is more, like, recognizable IP, more pop culture things, right? And they know that, right? Like, they're trying to hit the biggest potential crowd that they can. Some of the biggest franchises in the world are owned by WB. They've got Batman, they've got Superman, they've got all of these things, right? That solves their problem. If they buy WB, they never have to buy anything else again. They probably still would, but they don't need to, right? Yep. Whereas over on the WB side, it'd be good for them too, because like clearly they need some money bags to help protect them because they're not doing so hot right now.
Yeah.
And B, they clearly need a little bit of a shakeup, right? They need to be able to take risks and not have to be afraid of the results of those risks, right? They need to change up how they're doing pretty much every level of their business. I mean, if you paid attention to all the things that came out, I think it was an earnings call or whatever, where they like canceled Batgirl and all this other stuff that like they probably shouldn't have done. Like they need a shakeup, and I'm not talking about the like hierarchy of the DC universe is being changed, like what Black Adam's been saying for 7 years, 10 years, whatever it is that The Rock's been attached to that role. Like, it's just a partnership that makes so much sense to me that like I'm probably too attached to it at this point, but I need it to happen.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen again. Tune in tomorrow evening because we're going to be talking about that specific subject, and I'm going to give you a proper shout out and mention that specific quote regarding the MultiVersus. Yeah, that's it. They get WB, they get MultiVersus, and it's already established. And all they got to do is fold in Xbox characters. It's genius. It is just genius. But Boxenberger, let's bring you back into the fold here. You obviously have two boys, two beautiful boys, as a matter of fact, that are into pretty much everything, right? So you as a pop, I would imagine that, I mean, the honor, the love that I feel when I'm sitting on the couch with Tyler, who's my nephew, but we treat him like our son, is just, there's no words for the love and how important it is to sit down with a younger generation and both play a game together. It's an incredible feeling. So I can only imagine that as a dad, that has got to be gratifying beyond words. And Xbox, you know, we know that you play on everything else, but you love Xbox, same as most of us here. Is Microsoft missing the key element of family titles? And could a kart racer or /fighter bring in a new element of gamers to find the brand?
Absolutely. Like you said, the kid-friendly IP, the kid-friendly game is kind of missing in the portfolio, and a kart racer would be absolutely fantastic. Like you said, it's fantastic to play with kids. I play Mario Kart religiously with my kids. Just bought actually the map expansion pack for that. We're having a blast with the new tracks. And yeah, like basically everyone said here on the panel, there are so many possibilities now for Xbox to make such a kart racer. The IPs are there, the iconic characters are there. It all would make sense. But I also agree absolutely 100 with Infinite Umbra, who said, well, It all makes sense to us, and we've been talking about this for years. Like Mav said, like every 3 to 6 months we talk about stuff like this, or Killer Instinct, and all these, or Banjo. How many times have you?
My goodness,
the horn about Banjo?
If I had a quarter for every time I said Banjo Kazooie, I'd be a million.
Dude. And for some reason, they are just sitting there and doing nothing with those IPs and these possibilities. But the thing is, and I think brings this whole thing around. Xbox has this hands-off mentality with the studios. They don't want to go into a Beanox and tell them, okay, you're gonna make now a kart racer. Yeah, they just don't do that. And unless one of the Xbox studios intrinsically comes to Microsoft and says, hey, we want to do a kart racer, it's just not going to happen. And I feel like right now, these kind of studios that Xbox has, maybe that changes with ABK, but as of right now, the 23 studios, there's just no studio that comes willingly, freely, and say, hey, that's our dream game, we want to do that. And unless this is not is going to happen, I don't think Microsoft will do that. Unfortunately, because like everyone said, that the potential is there. Now Microsoft just needs to do something with it.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I just got a DM from a good friend of the show. He made his debut last week on Primetime Gaming. Andre Doyle, a good friend of the program. I think he's listening right now. He actually just sent me a DM, and I'm waiting for clarification to make sure that what I'm going to say is correct and it's going to answer a lot of questions. Andre, if you're listening, check your DM. I just posed a question. Just clarify what you put in there, because if it's what I think it is, it's mind-boggling. But we will wait. But as we wait for him, I got to catch him some of the super chats that come the way of good friends of the program. Crazy Lou Gaming. Now, Crazy Lou was on last week's Primetime Gaming. He jumped in on the back end. Crazy Lou, hopefully you're doing well. And look, I'm going to say this. He drops a $5 super chat. Thank you for the generosity. Thank you for the support. And more so, this guy is amazing. He checked when my wife and I were struggling through through COVID. He checked on us every day, along with a lot of people in the community checked on us. But he every day reached out. I mean, it's crazy love that I cannot thank. He says, I want a Chuck Norris game. Make it happen. That makes you the coolest guy on today's show. I'm going to tell you that right now, because the Chuck Norris game would be dope. Elemental PO, good friend of the program, drops an additional, $10 super chat and says, would you have MGSS make an all-in-one multiplayer game with a first-person mode, brawler mode, a la Smash, and racing, flying mode, all characters included, all in one or separate? I mean, if you wanted to put the industry on notice and you wanted to shake up the genre and put it on its head, and you put both first-person shooter modes and driving modes into the same game, I don't know who would produce that, and I mean where that would come from, but that's pretty crazy. I like what you're putting down. For me personally, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to these games. Yes, of course, I want a traditional Banjo-Kazooie. That's without doubt. I also would love a straight up kart racer, very similar to Mario Kart with Xbox characters. And of course, I would love the traditional fighter. And it doesn't have to be like a Smash Brothers type of game. Actually, to be honest with you, when I first saw what WB was doing with MultiVersus, I was like, man, that's gonna bomb. No one's gonna play that game. It's a ripoff of Smash Brothers. And then I started playing. And I'm like, well, hold on a sec here, folks. They actually have something. And here we are. I said it live on the air, folks. I spent $100 on the Ultimate Pass. You get a lot with it. It gives you 30 character unlock coins. I'm good for the next 4 season passes. So that's why I did it. But Microsoft reward points paid for at least half of it, which is pretty dope. But I do want to move on to the final topic, and this one comes the way, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just pull this up over here. I found this one. This was pretty interesting. Tutti Frutti Gaming, and that's at Tutti Frutti Gaming. I don't know if he's a fan of the show. He's listening. I do follow him. I believe he follows me. We do follow each other. So he might listen to the show. He put out a tweet that I thought was pretty interesting, and one that I kind of just want to get everyone's opinion. Now, again, I'm going to read verbatim what he put. He's put hashtag Xbox Game Pass, hashtag gamers, PlayStation has already lost 2023. And he puts up a graphic that has Xbox plus Game Pass and what's coming out next year. Now, 2 of which that are on here are question marks, but everything else is confirmed. He has Starfield, he has Forza Motorsport, he has Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Wulong, which is coming into Xbox Game Pass. That's by the makers of Ninja Gaiden, Stalker 2, Hollow Knight Silk Song, which is a multi-plat, but coming into Xbox Game Pass day and date, Replaced, Arc 2, Diablo 4, again, multi-plat, but coming to Xbox Game Pass. And the 2 question marks, or the wild cards here, are Avowed and Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga. Now, I'm just going to say this for the topic on hand. If that turns out to be what their year looks like, yeah, they have beaten basically everybody. And I say that because we only know a couple of games coming out for Sony, one of which is Spider-Man 2. No slouch by any stretch of the truth. That's going to be a banger, as the kids say. But I'll start first with Boxenberger. Listen, Boxenberger, this is a list put together by a fan of Xbox. I thought it was a relevant conversation. I mean, I do agree that if this is what we're getting in next year, and it's an onslaught of Xbox games, specifically in the first party aspect of the conversation, this is a monster year. This is a year that if Avowed, and it doesn't have to be both, if Avowed or Hellblade are on the back end of the year for the holidays, holy shit, dude. Like, how does PlayStation or Nintendo even respond to that? Could this be the best year in Xbox gaming?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to add one game that I missed in this list because it's one of my most anticipated games, and that's Stalker 2. So the list is even bigger. And yeah, 2023, it sounds like an absolute ridiculous year. We've talked about this last week on my podcast as well, and put out the question, even if the game is that the year is actually too crowded. If you just think about these Xbox games, on top of that, we get the third-party games, and
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. In terms of Xbox, no. It kind of looks like this is going to be finally the year they have been, and we all have been waiting for. When they started to buy all these studios in 2018, 4 years ago, we knew that it will take a while until we get that continuous stream of games coming to the platform. And now it kind of looks like 23 is finally the year. The first half is completely stacked. Like the first 5 months, it's insane. It's bonkers. And we have no idea what's coming in the second half. You mentioned Hellblade, maybe Avowed. There are other possibilities as well. We have no idea what all these other studios or when they plan to release their games, because like studios like the Coalition, they are also overdue with their next Gears of War iteration, and they're working on other stuff. So the possibilities are big, and just from what we have already confirmed for next year, and I know there will be delays next year too, that's for sure, but still, the stuff that is now scheduled for 2023 is going to be or is going to make 2023 Xbox biggest year yet, period. They have games like a Diablo, which will be first party by then. They have Starfield, which is one of the biggest releases in years. They have games like Forza, Redfall, smaller games. I mentioned Stalker 2, other games, and that's is an incredible year. And yeah, what else is there to say? 23 can't come fast enough.
Yeah, no, I absolutely got to give a big shout out to Gaz. Now, if you don't know who Gaz is, he's from Game On Daily. He is the master of anything and everything sauce. He's also co-host to friend of this program, a good friend of basically everyone, Colt Eastwood. Obviously, Colt has a show that was yesterday. I don't remember who the guest was because I missed it because I was doing some family stuff, guys. I will definitely check it out as I'm like I always do, doing the wash, doing the food shopping, whatever. But the big shout out to you, brother. We got to get you on here as a guest on an upcoming episode because, of course, we need as much sauce as possible.
Cancel gas, cancel gas 2022.
Yeah.
Let's get that promo going.
I love it. You know what, Umbra, let's bring you into the conversation. 2023 is slated to be a year that is potentially going to challenge one of the most iconic and epic years in gaming, and that's 2007. 2007 is still reigning champ as best compilation of games across multiple platforms, and we've come close in challenging that, but we've never seen a year where it surpassed what has come out in 2007, which again is I consider to be almost iconic. Though 2023, specifically for Xbox, looks like not only are they gonna eclipse 2021, which was a monster year for first party, which they won Publisher of the Year from numerous publications, but this lineup is bonkers. Now, granted, there are some multi-plats in there, but every game that I read is coming into Xbox Game Pass, and I think that in itself is worthy of this conversation. Could this, in fact, be the best year Xbox has ever produced?
I don't think it's a question, Boom. If they can land all these games, even if it's not necessarily first party, if from the slate of games that we know are coming in 2023, and that's just across the board. I mean, be it PlayStation, be it Nintendo, be it Xbox, 2023 is looking to be like a golden year for gaming. But if Microsoft can land all these games in 2023, it absolutely will be the best, I think, release schedule they've ever had, if anything. I mean, Mav had listed some, and then I listed some. For instance, we already know about Diablo 4. We know about Wolong. We know about Dead Space as he put out. We know. I'll just name the ones that I know that are appearing on Game Pass. More than likely Diablo 4, because I'm guessing the deal will be done by that point.
Yep.
Wolong, Forza Motorsport, Redfall, Starfield, Warhammer, Dark Tide, and of course the ones I named: Replace, Minecraft Legends, Stalker 2, Hollow Knight, Silksong, which I'm excited for, and The Last Case of Benedict Fox, Flintlock, Cocoon, Iliadine Chronicle, 100 Heroes. It's more than I'm not even remembering right now. But if those right there all land in 2023, and let's assume that Avowed might land, or Hellblade 2, either one of those in the fall or something like that, because it's very possible. Although those two might leak into 2024, but let's just say Hellblade 2 might make it by late, December or something like that, or November or something like that. It'll definitely be probably the best, I think. I don't even probably. It'll be the best year for Microsoft as far as releases and games in general for Game Pass ever. I don't think that's even a question. I mean, the only thing I think that could challenge it is if, man, I can't even think of anything else. And then I think back too, and I also think, because we know the Activision deal will be done, so it's a very likely chance that they'll be releasing all of the Call of Duty's campaigns and such into the Game Pass. I think 2023 is just going to be, it's going to be an insane year. I don't think any way you look at it, I think it's going to be crazy for us as far as what we get. So I'm incredibly excited for that. Man, I'm excited thinking about it, but I know it always seems like we're like, oh, wait till next year. But this next year is looking really promising. So I'm excited for it. I think if any like half of those even launch and land in 2023, which we know many of these will, I think it'll be on paper probably the best overall year for Microsoft as far as first party and Game Pass in general.
No, good stuff. Mav, let's bring you in on the conversation, brother. What are your thoughts regarding the list of games that I dropped, but also hearing what Boxenberger and Umbra have brought to the conversation? Will this be Xbox's best year ever?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I mean, even if you just look at the first 6 months, like between what they put out at the E3 show, there was an enormous amount of stuff. it is almost too much right now in the first half of 2023 that I do think that some of these maybe need to clear space. If anything else gets pushed into 2023 and is slated for that first half, it's almost like suicide, right? I mean, the list of games Umbra was talking about, and I put it in the chat earlier because we're just talking in the chat. It's Diablo, Wolong, Dead Space, Forza, Redfall, Starfield, Hogwarts, Avatar, Midnight Suns, Warhammer, Darktide, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Test Drive, Solar Crown, and then Umbra added the replaced Minecraft Legends, Stalker 2, Hollow Knight, Silksong, Benedict Fox, Flintlock, Cocoon, and Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, right? So I believe almost all of those are slated for the first 6 months of the year. And if you go back and look at 2022, the big games that we had for the first half of 2022, we had Dying Light 2, we had Elden Ring, and for Horizon Forbidden West on PlayStation. Help me out. GT7?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
Tiny Tina's. Yeah, so that's what, like 5, maybe, like pretty big AAA-ish type games. There's over like 12 at least in the first half of next year alone, and there will be more because there's more stuff that's supposed to be getting announced, right? Need for Speed, is it going to be this year? Is it going to be early next year? The rumor is this year, but what if it's not and it actually is early next year? Then
Hogwarts Legacy also next year. And to add to that, Mav, most of those games you just mentioned are not small games. They are all these kind of experience, like a Starfield, Diablo, hundreds of hours we're gonna sink into them.
Could you imagine if they we got Starfield and Diablo and like Forza? Well, they wouldn't do Forza at the same time, but let's say like Hogwarts, Diablo, and Starfield like the same week. I mean, it's so crowded. It is so crowded in this first 6 months.
We don't have enough thumbs or time.
There's more than 2 big games releasing in the first 6 months of next year. Like, and on a lot of platforms, but especially on Xbox, if you add in the Game Pass effect, plus also, Stalker and Starfield and Redfall on there. And by that time, remember, guys, Diablo 4 will probably be a Game Pass game.
Yeah.
Right? Because that Activision should be done as well.
Yeah.
So you look at this amount of stuff that we're going to have to play. And that's why I said earlier in the show when we're talking is like this, like for me, like this October is going to start this onslaught because October is just as crowded. There's like 4 games coming this year in October. Like
October's packed.
Like within like 2 weeks, right? That are like insane. And after October, you get November, December, there's still games. You got Callisto Protocol coming. You got stuff like that, right? Cross my fingers, don't delay that.
Oh God, please don't. That looks so good.
Moving into next year, there's no lull. There's not going to be like we had this year. You know what I mean? Because even if half of these games get delayed and pushed out into the second half of 2023,
it's still a monster
or even
year
in 2024, it's still an amazing year. So 2023 is going to be absolutely bananas. And the crazy thing is, with all of those games that we know about right now, we still do not have any clue what is slated for holiday 2023, right? Because none of the big publishers have announced any of their big holiday 2023 games. We won't start hearing about that till like the Game Awards maybe this year, and then probably the first couple of things that happen next year. And then E3, and then we'll have a picture for holiday 2023. But just this list alone is absolutely astounding, dude. So yes, 2023 is going to be one to remember, everybody.
Mav, let me ask you one follow-up question. Like you said, it's going to be insane. Do you feel like it will hurt some games? Because if we look at February alone, Hogwarts Legacy, big name in the pop culture. Everyone knows Harry Potter. Then we have Diablo and even a Starfield. And if you put those games against, I don't know, Case of Benedict Fox or Hollow Knight or some of these smaller games, you feel like they will be suffering?
I feel like right now the first half is a little overcrowded. Be honest with you, because the size of some of these games, right? The scope of them, is massive. I mean, Stalker 2 right now, Starfield, Hogwarts, Avatar is probably going to be a pretty big game as well.
That's the second half. They said it's the fiscal year 23-24. So it's
for which game?
Avatar.
I saw March, fiscal year of 2023, ending in March 2023 is what I had seen.
But they pushed it out of this fiscal year. They said it's not coming this fiscal year; it's coming the next fiscal year. So yeah.
So hopefully that one gets pushed out then. But yeah, other than, I mean, there's so many freaking games, man. It's absolutely enormous. Yeah. I think it really could potentially harm some, but I think there's enough variety here, so it's not going to be horrible. But it would impact if you had like a Stalker 2 release around the same time as like a Diablo and like a Starfield. You know what I mean? Because those are all kind of really big scope, like massive RPG type games. Diablo's a little bit different, but there's so much big games. That's the thing, man. And then Umbro is adding all these other games too, like Replaced, which a lot of people are looking forward to, and Minecraft Legends, which is going to be pretty popular as well and stuff. But yeah, I think the big games can really get lost in the shuffle sometimes when there's other big releases right around it. We've even seen it like from EA did it to themselves with Titanfall, right?
They killed
their own game twice.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Both times they did it to themselves. And we don't want to see that, but at the same time, like I do think some of these that are first half are going to be moved out into second. And then it's still going to be an amazing holiday. So it's not going to be like 2022, right? This is like 2022 is a loss, everybody. They're like for gaming in general. Like I mean, the PlayStation had 3 pretty good first party games this year. Nintendo's doing great, but on Xbox platform, I mean, just admittedly, first party has not been there this year, right? Now there's tons of stuff to play. So for me, it doesn't really matter. It's not like I run out of things to do, but we're seeing the effect of that with all of this multi-plat stuff too. Now I'll also add, my PlayStation, Nintendo did a pretty good job this year, but multi-plats, like third-party publishers, did not really bring their A game this year either, right? There's a huge lack right now of big-time AAA things from like EA and Ubisoft and a lot of these developers. Warner Brothers, where is all these games?
I can't remember one.
I don't. We're gonna have stuff this holiday, right? So it's gonna hopefully make up for that. But up to this point, it's been a big lack of stuff, and
it's been like indies carrying it this year. It felt like
carrying the year, and we had those like 5 big games we mentioned.
Yeah, it feels like we only had 2 months this year. Like everything came out in February and the first week of March, and then we had like 6 months nothing, and then we have like October, and that's about it.
This was the year of backlog. Get your backlog cleared out.
I'm playing Destroy All Humans and Ghostbusters now, the remake, and I'm like, I'm just catching up on. Listen, real quick, there is a developing story. This is dropped in to my DM. This is posted by Xbox.com, news.xbox.com, the official site of Xbox News. This comes the way of Jacob Novik, who's in the chat. Folks, this is... I'm not going to make it a topic. We're at the end of the show. I got to get Daniel's opinion about this, but this is crazy. Microsoft is pushing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and they say this: get up to 1 week early access campaign. Get up to 1 week early campaign access for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 with all digital pre-orders. And the summary is: play the full Modern Warfare campaign up to a week before the launch of the game just for digitally pre-ordering the game. All pre-orders get early access to the Modern Warfare 2 Xbox One and Xbox Series X multiplayer beta starting September 22nd. And this is the stake in the sand, and this is where I have to investigate this further. He says the article says this: tune into Call of Duty's next event on September 15th for a massive intel drop on the immediate future of Call of Duty. What? Excuse me? Because I thought...
the same thing has been announced also for PlayStation, Battle.net, Steam, and PC.
Okay.
So-
All right. I thought this was just an Xbox thing, but okay.
I thought the same thing, Boom, and I put it in even our like fun speculation DMs. I was like, "Is this normal?" But then Jas was like, "Yeah, like this is for everybody." And then I went back and looked to see if Xbox made similar posts on Xbox Wire in the past, and they did. It's like if you
Okay, so
search,
I thought there was something developing, but there you go. Thank you for the clarification, Daniel. Let's get your opinion on this. 2023. Everyone has had amazing opinions. The chat has been absolutely fantastic with a lot of new people. Which, by the way, I'm 30 away now from 11K. So if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Let's push us past 11K. That would be pretty epic to happen this week. Hopefully, it does. But Daniel, what are your thoughts on the ridiculous reality that 2023 is going to be so overloaded with games that I think some of these publishers may delay on purpose?
Yeah, I think that that's entirely possible, if not probable. Because I remember having similar conversations to this at the end of last year, where we were looking at like that February, March window, and we were like, "There's so many games in February. What's going to happen? And then like the only ones that ended up coming out were Horizon and Elden Ring, and the rest got pushed to being basically the rest of the year. Like I think Saints Row was originally supposed to be in that window, and maybe even like Gotham Knights was closer. I don't know. But like, so I'm tentative to say that it's going to be a huge year just because of what happened this year. But at the same time, like those delays are happening because of COVID, right? And then moving out of the way and things like that. So at some point, that's going to have to hit the wall, right? Where it's like we're putting these games out because we're so far ahead. Now, looking at these 12 that are on the graphic that you posted, right? I'm looking at, Starfield, Forza Motorsport, Redfall. Those are for sure coming out next year. If they don't come out next year, I'd be shocked. Probably Minecraft Legends as well. Wolong and Silksong, those are two massive entries into Game Pass day one, right? I think those are two games that speak specifically to me very loudly. I don't know how much they speak to other people, but like Three Kingdoms era China and the first Hollow Knight are like really the things that I love. So I'm really excited about those games. Stalker 2 and Replaced, I mean, those are the Ukrainian games, so I'm not going to put any eggs in those baskets because if those don't come out next year, I'm certainly not going to be upset about it, right? Because they have the best reason possible, the best worst reason possible. Like, I'm not going to be mad about it, is what I'm getting at, right? Is like, they need to take care of themselves more than they need to take care of their games, right? So no worries there at all. Then we're looking at the end of the year, and we're hoping for Hellblade and Avowed. I think it's more likely that we just get one of those, probably Hellblade, because it was announced first. So I think that's more likely to come out. And then
it's been in development for years, dude. Like years.
What about Atomic Heart, guys? Is that coming this year still?
Well, that's the game coming from the Russian studio. That was delayed because of what's going on.
Yeah.
That game looks
looks
amazing,
really
and that's a Game Pass day and date.
Yeah.
Is that next? So that might be next year too, then, right? Oh well.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's supposed to be day and date.
You know what? No one mentioned, which I'm very surprised that I can't wait to play myself. Flintlock.
Oh
yeah.
I named it a flurry of games,
okay,
but I'm definitely excited for that.
So there's like tons of games that are supposed to be coming out next year. But between Hellblade and Avowed, I think Hellblade will be the one that comes out. And then Avowed, even if it's ready for next year, I think, if you have all these other things coming out, you may as well hold on to it and get into that Nintendo sweet spot where you're releasing things just whenever you need them, right? Because if you can hold off on Avowed, maybe give them a little bit more time to do whatever they need with it, it's going to be a huge open world game. So I'm sure that there's some things that they could use to spend more time on than they maybe necessarily need to. Maybe hold that off until the first couple months of like February of 2024. I did some research while the rest of you guys were talking into what the other publishers are putting out next year, or PlayStation and Nintendo. PlayStation has Forspoken. Spider-Man 2 is slated for 2023, although I think it's probably going to be holiday. And apparently there's rumors that it's going to get delayed out of 2023. I don't know anything about that.
No, I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from.
We're still what, 16
It's probably
away.
because every game gets delayed at least once.
Yeah, so who knows? And then they also have, of course, the Final Fantasy VII remake 2 Rebirth thing, right? Like that's supposed to come out next year. So that's going to be their big 3. And, we don't know basically anything that PlayStation is doing right now. I think the only first-party PlayStation games that we know about are that, other than God of War Ragnarok, are Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine, which are both coming out of the same studio.
And the Last of Us multiplayer thing.
Oh yeah, the factions. So whenever their show is, people are saying that it's going to be September. I think that's when it was last year, maybe. So hopefully, that's going to be a huge show. So I'm sure they'll announce more things there. As far as Nintendo is concerned, the only things they have announced right now for 2023 are Breath of the Wild 2, which I think has been delayed from like 2021.
4 times.
I think it's been delayed a couple of times. So that needs to be coming out. And then they also have the Advance Wars 1 and 2 remake. Which I think we get the announcement
that holiday sees Mario Odyssey 2. That's been rumored to be in development for years. And it wouldn't surprise me if they came out in the same year to bookend the year for Nintendo, because they did that originally when the Switch was launched in 2017.
Well, and I think that they should also, just because, we've been hearing that they've been holding on to things and just releasing them whenever they need to slot something in. And apparently one of the ones that they've been doing that with is Metroid Prime. And I know people have been holding their breath turning blue waiting for that game. So I think it's about time to put that game out. So if even half of all of the games that we currently have announced for 2023 actually come out in 2023, it's going to be massive. Yeah, I'm just worried about it because I know that we were saying the same thing about 2022, and then that didn't pan out.
And that's a fantastic point. I remember everyone here made a video or show talking about 22 is going to be the biggest year in gaming ever. And
here we are, because half of those games got pushed to 2020.
Attacking our backlogs.
Yeah, COVID had another thing in mind for us.
I would also warn us to all be cautious about complaining too much about too much to play, because Xbox listens a lot and they'll end up delaying the ones that we don't want them to. Right? They'll say, "Oh, too much. Okay, Redfall. We'll give them another year.
Phil Spencer come out.
We own that now. They need more time. Let's just let them have it, and then we get all this other stuff instead."
Right.
So careful what we say.
Be careful.
Phil's going to come out. We hear you.
We hear you, and everything is delayed.
You want more space on your releases? 2025. How about that, guys?
Oh
my God! No. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, what a way to start your week in gaming. Obviously, we start you off in the morning and then mid-afternoon with the Xbox Factor podcast, and tonight is the new episode of RDX with Dealer Gaming and the entire gang. That's live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Listen, a lot of new faces here. If you are new and you're finding the channel for the first time, you enjoyed the banter, the conversation that we have. This is something that happens every week on Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But this is the start of the gauntlet run that I do every week. There's a show tomorrow night, Primetime Gaming, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Thursday, I'll be sitting down with Risk It for the Biscuit. I think Umbra knows who that gentleman is. And we're going to be talking about platformers and how many actual characters Microsoft owns, along with some other hot topic information. And hopefully by then we'll get this Sony response to what Microsoft had to say. We'll be able to talk about that. And of course, we end the week on Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Breakfast with Boom. And that's actually a show that this week is going to be dedicated to what happened at Gamescom at the Jeff Keighley show that's happening. I believe it's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. We'll be breaking down all of the big news from that. Right now, you can go and you can see that we have multiple shows ready to go. But listen, let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Boxenberger. Sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where they can reach out to and strike up a conversation on social media.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me again. It's always a blast to be here. And people can find me everywhere under Boxenberger. Of course, Xbox, PlayStation, Twitter, and here on YouTube. And I do have my own podcast airing each Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. UK time. And this week, we have a very special episode because we have the lead developer of the game Stormride as a guest. It's an action open world RPG coming exclusively to Xbox and PC, and it looks absolutely awesome. And we're gonna pick his brain about the development process and everything regarding Xbox. It's gonna be interesting, super interesting.
Boxenberg, I got an emergency call. Do the outros, brother.
I will do that. All right. Yeah. This is this week, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Really looking forward to that. Other than that, next week I won't be here on this program or on my channel because I'm on family vacation, so I'll be back in 2 weeks. But Mav, let people know where they can find you.
Thanks, Archie. Temporary host of Xbox Factor podcast.
This is how you get a promotion.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, everybody, thanks for tuning into this show. It was awesome discussions. Tonight, I will. Boom just mentioned RDX over there at Dealer Gaming. I'm going to be hanging out on that show tonight. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And let's see. Also, Thursdays, PM in the PM with Pong Soul and I. We always deep dive on a couple of big topics. We're going to have some crazy discussions this week, I guarantee you. And then Fridays is Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And it's always a blast. We go left a lot. We have a lot of fun. Check me out for some game streams if you want over on Fun Speculation on YouTube as well. And then also trying to be more consistent with some videos and stuff. I'm working on one right now as well. And should be up hopefully within the next couple hours. And yeah, awesome show, you guys. This was a lot of fun. And chat, you rock as always.
Indeed, the chat does rock here. It is a big part of the show, this awesome community. So shout out to you guys. And Danny, let everyone know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So I had a great time with all you guys, as always. You can all find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG or on YouTube at Daniel McG. That's Daniel MCG. I've actually got a video going live in 4 minutes, so probably right after the show ends, talking about the Xbox, PlayStation, Brazilian legal trouble. So maybe go and give that a stop. Yeah, it's been a great show. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's a seamless transition over to the next thing for you. Awesome stuff here. And Umbra, let everyone know where they can find you and what you've coming up.
Oh man, now that Boom is gone, I gotta let loose. I feel like I'm free now. I could just start singing or something. I don't know. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Thank all of you all in chat for coming through and who you are. Okay, I'm sorry. You all can find me on
the most beautiful outro I've ever heard on this program before.
I think I'd be goofy.
He's gonna get a copyright strike now.
Yeah, right.
It was too good.
Old Blue Eyes came through. Up, we're taking that. Yeah, you guys can find me, of course, here every week on Tuesdays, and of course on our main podcast with Risk It, Jedi, and Doom Cutie, the Xbox Infinite podcast, named after me. No matter what Risk It tells you, and that'll be on 8 o'clock Eastern. If you all can find us there, 8 o'clock Eastern, and it's on Risk It's channel. And yeah, thank you all for coming through and supporting us as you always do.
No. Good stuff here. So, guys, that's the show. Unfortunately, I can't close the stream. That's something Boom has to do, and he will be doing that shortly. But thanks, everyone, for tuning up here, showing up here. It's been awesome, as always. And I guess we see you guys next week on the Xbox Factor podcast. Yeah, we don't have the outro. We don't have the outro.
Can we just keep this going a little bit?
We just keep going. Okay, guys, what have you been playing, actually?
Did you see his just spun around in like a random weird circle? Is he doing a race or is it just...
I think he's free roaming here.
Yeah, I think he's just
just free roaming. All right, makes sense then.
Yeah.
So what have you all been playing? I played the Diofield Chronicle demo.
Oh, how would you like that?
Yeah, I love it. It's freaking awesome. I can't wait for that game to come out. That's coming out in September, I think, September 21st. And then Cult of the Lamb, Madden.
Oh, how is that?
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. I'm sorry about that. I'm back. I had to take an emergency call. Listen, thanks for doing the outros, Boxenberger.
No problem.
Yeah, listen, folks, thank you so much for taking the time to check out Double Barrel Gaming's Xbox Factor podcast. Everyone on this panel is a star. and someone that you should be subscribed to. They bring an incredible amount of good, positive will and conversation to this community. And that's exactly what this world needs right now. All of their information and their links to their channels and their social media channels are there. All you got to do is one click and subscribe and follow on the socials. Big shout out to the over 400 people that tuned in for today. Thank you so much for the super chats that continue to come in. Those obviously, like I said in the past, power the big giveaways that we have, and we do have several big ones coming up. The next one is a $500 digital giveaway where it's going to have multiple winners. That's coming at the Boom's birthday bash. We've recently added a Mrs. Boom birthday bash in November. That's an additional $500 in digital gifts. And this year, Mrs. BoomStick and I are going out. We're going crazy with the holiday. We're giving away over $1,000 worth of digital prizes come as we get closer to Christmas. And by the end of the year, we will have given away over $3,000 worth of prizes. And to win, all you got to do is be in the chat. You get extra entries for being a channel member, for being dropping a super chat and being subscribed to the channel. And it's our way of saying thank you for supporting this massive dream that we have. And of course, I want to thank everyone that tuned in today and say that I'm going to close out with something that was taught to me when we were kids. And I think it's relatively important to the way the world is right now. My dad used to say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, guys. You can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.